The council meeting of February 19th will come to order. Good evening. Would ask that all in attendance turn off or silence your electronic devices, and please stand to honor God and country. Father, this evening we open in prayer to you, because only you are all-powerful. Your purposes will never be thwarted. As we just yesterday celebrated President's Day and this month celebrate Black History Month, our fervent prayer is that the actions of this council inspire the hearts of our fellow citizens, that we may be a community that prospers and continues forever as a united, joy-filled people. We pray in unity with friends and neighbors. God, help us to value diversity beyond variety. May we experience our strength together and the blessing derived when all are welcome to come to the table and taste and see that the Lord is good. Help us labor on until we can all sing, for good and right reasons, oh happy day. Amen. Our pledge to our great nation will be led this evening by Eagle Scout Connor James Sleeper of Troop 120. James, if you would please approach the podium and lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Persons wishing to address council, there are forms available in the back of the room and may be turned into the clerk to my right. And at this time, if Connor Sleeper of Troop 120 would please approach the podium. Good evening, Connor, and congratulations. This evening, your mayor and council are pleased to present you with a recognition in honor of your earning the rank of Eagle Scout, which is the highest advancement in Boy Scouting. Connor recently earned his rank of Eagle Scout through the Greater Tampa Bay Area Council of the Boy Scouts of America and is a member of Boy Scout Troop 120. Connor's Eagle Scout Community Service Project involved renovating Scout Park. Connor raised over $2,300 for this project. With the money raised, Connor widened the trail, replaced the wood on 2 picnic tables, worked with the water department to run a water meter to provide a water source near the fire pit, and purchased a water hose and a storage unit for the hose. He also repaired and replaced the bricks on the fire pit. Connor raised an additional $1,000 more than the original budget and utilized that money to purchase 3 additional picnic tables and a new trash receptacle. This was an honorable and dedicated endeavor. These are the core values of Scouting and set a great example to his peers. We honor and salute Connor for the attainment of such a prestigious goal as Eagle Scout. And Connor, would you like to introduce us to who's here with you this evening and also make a few remarks? I know you brought a board highlighting your presentation, so Connor.
Yes. With me this evening is my Scoutmaster, Mr. Morris, a friend of mine from my troop, Devin Burke, his mother and father, my mom and dad, Jackson, my friend Jackson from my troop, his grandma, and his mother.
Very nice. And share a bit about your project with us, Connor.
During my project, we rented some tools like a brush hog, which is basically a giant lawnmower, and we just took it through the trail and mowed down any brush that was overgrown onto the walking area. One of the hard things about the project was assembling the new picnic tables. We had some issues getting everything to line up right. It went very well. We finished it more quickly than anticipated, I feel. We were able to, we had some extra time on the first day, which is when we used the brush hog and all that. And with that extra time, we were able to do a few offshoots on the trail. We also went through, me and a couple other boys went through and with spray paint and marked some trees so that it would be easier to get through the trail. That's really all.
Excellent. And who would you like to invite up to the picture? Your staff member,
Yes, Mr. Morris and my parents.
Next, if Andrea McClellan would come forward to share with us the news of Farm Night Barbecue.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I brought notes this time so I wouldn't forget anybody, I hope. So I hope everyone who is here and watching on TV have already purchased their tickets for Farm Night Barbecue because it is this Friday. Not to worry if you haven't, there's still time to get them online at Eventbrite, and there will also be limited tickets available at the gate for you super procrastinators. The weather will be great, so you won't want to miss it. For the 4th year in a row, M&B Products, your local agricultural business, is inviting everyone to our farm for a great time and for a great cause. We have many great partners, volunteers, and sponsors to make this event successful, and I want to take a couple of minutes to recognize them before getting back to the details of the event. Our partners who are instrumental before, during, and after to prepare for this event are the City of Temple Terrace, especially Corey is somewhere here today. Corey Collins from the Rec Center, she's really been, that corner, she's really been helping me out a whole lot this year and for all 4 years, really. The Temple Terrace Masonic Lodge number 330, Gary Tuttle, Joe McKetsky, and all the Masons who are volunteers at the event. Former Woman of the Year in Agriculture, Judy Whitson, and the Hillsborough County Ag Venture crew. The Temple Terrace Chamber of Commerce, and Jenny at Premier Signs in Temple Terrace. All of these peoples and groups for the past 4 years have really given tirelessly to make this event what it has become. I would like to give an extra special thank you to our largest group of volunteers from Riverhills Church of God, led by Pastor Joel Spinks, who never fail to offer a loving, helping hand every year. This year, a little bit different than years in past. In honor of their 50th anniversary in the city of Temple Terrace, the Ralph and Nancy Lepton family and Lepton's Barbecue will be preparing the delicious barbecue dinner. I'd like to take a minute to recognize all of our sponsors, beginning with our exclusive title sponsor for the 3rd year, the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Fresh from Florida. Please make sure when available you purchase locally grown and produced products. Just look for the Fresh from Florida logo. Our gold sponsors are Gulf Coast Thermo-King and Peace River Citrus Products. Our silver sponsors are Tico, Steps Towing, who will be there with a big American flag, which is something that I always look forward to saluting. Suncoast Credit Union, R.E. Garrison Trucking, Ravar GMC, the Bank of Tampa, Southeast Dairy Processors, and Brandon Rental Center. Our bronze sponsors are Langston's Auto Parts, Farm Credit of Central Florida, Lanier Upshaw, Allen Gear, who happens to be the best CPA in Temple Terrace in my humble opinion, and Mid-Florida Tree. I don't want to forget to mention the Dairy Council of Florida, the Florida Strawberry Growers Association, and the Ice Cream Club out of Boynton Beach, all of whom provide goodies and treats for all of our guests. For those of you who have attended Farm Night Barbecue in the past, I know you are looking forward to fried green tomatoes and fried okra provided by the Rooks family from Citrus County. Mr. Larry and Miss Nancy really know how to knock it out of the park. So I hope I haven't forgotten anyone, and I apologize if I have. But please, everyone, come out and support our city and have a great time with us this Friday night from 6 p.m. till 10 at M&B Products, located at the intersection of Harney and Davis Roads in Temple Terrace. Advance tickets are $25 for adults and $10 for kids, $5 more each at the gate if you don't get them in advance. That price includes all-you-can-eat barbecue, the fried okra and green tomatoes, fresh from Florida strawberry shortcake and ice cream, cold drinks, and live entertainment by the Southern Express Bluegrass Band and the Boss Hog Band. There will be a hayride, bonfire, although it's going to be a little bit warm for that, but there'll still be one. Kids crafts and activities by Hillsborough County Ag Venture, and much more. All the proceeds of this event will go to benefit the city's leisure services department, which includes the rec center, the library, and the Lightfoot Center. Please visit farmnightbbq.com. Click on the gold ticket button, which will direct you to Eventbrite, where you can purchase tickets in advance and online. I hope to see you all there.
Thank you, Andrea. And next, if Mo Casti and Jeffrey Mitchell will come forward to share information on the new Dr. Kiran Patel High School. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. We would like to kind of give you an update about an exciting project that we as parents and community leaders, we've been undertaking for the past 3 years. And hopefully if you're driving on 75 and before you get to Fowler, you start seeing a big white building going up on the right side. And we're excited to see the progress going. So today we really would love to give you an update on the progress, and still on target for opening August 2019. We have a quick presentation. The school, Dr. Patel, Kiran Patel High School, we set out with one mission, which is truly to inspire our kids and empower our kids and students with 21st century knowledge. This is a completely new model of education. We want to make this city, and we want to make this area that people from outside the county, outside Florida, to come in and see how do you really completely transform the way we educate our next generation of kids. And so the progress is, if you want to kind of give an update on
So the progress is going really well. I was actually at the site today. I don't know how many of you have seen the site. I'm sure, well, I know a couple of you have, because I've seen you there at the site. But if you ride by and you see it now, walls are up. Today when I was at the site, there was somebody walking across beams and starting to put the roof on, and it's really coming together. So we're really excited about it. You can see the pictures there. It's a little over 50,000 square foot of a main building with classrooms, and another 12,000 square foot of a gym that's going up. There are both outside basketball courts and tennis courts, and there are also outside fields that will be there, along with all of the parking structures and those things. So we are really trying to have, and our goal is to have a state-of-the-art school when it comes to the transformation of education, and some of the things that we're doing as far as education, but also in the building that we're building for our students that will come to this school. So we're really excited about it, and we're right on schedule.
And the site enables us also to have a higher security with everything going on, so it will be all secured. People won't be able to get in except with a pass, and kids will have to swipe to get in and out. So safety is on our mind as we continue to build the building and make it a showcase. Where are we on track is we actually just, we had about 300 plus applications or for 150 seats of the 9th grade, and then another 150 seats for the 10th grade. That's what we're shooting for this first round, is to go with the 9th and 10th grade. So we had 300 applicants for 150. So the demand is definitely there, and then we had to go through a lottery systems to be able to apply that. So we're very excited about that. There's more demand than supply, and then as we go along with that, and then eventually in 2020-21, then as we move, then we get to the all 4 grades, and those will be about 600 students when it's all said and done. The difference with this is when we talk about the 21st century, it's not about only what we know, but how are we going to apply what we know, and then the character of the future leaders in this school, that we really are very careful about how do we want to create an opportunity for them around that. And one of the difference is this whole concept of a flipped classroom, where not only we go from a lecture and then you go do homework, but really it's about being able to learn and ahead of time, and then when you're in the classroom, you really are collaborating with others and learning with your fellow students, and the teacher can give more attention. And that's kind of really where the next 21st century education versus standing and lecturing in a classroom. So you'll see the classroom to be completely different, roundtable, engaging in that. And then project-based learning where kids will apply the learning from a science. So an example would be they will learn about viruses and virology. So what they learned in science will be applied into their projects. What they learn in math from statistics, they will be applied to the project. How are you going to organize the data and make a case for it? How are you going to do research about what's going on, and even contact and work with the CDC to learn how things are done? And then history. What are the history of infection, and how did that over the years, and so being able to apply history to it, and then writing and thinking, critical thinking, and even reading novels, and then being able to apply it to a specific project. So we really bring the next generation of not only learning, but also applying to it. And then what we're also exciting about, and this is, we'll take this opportunity to recruit, one of the key elements is to be able to provide mentor for our students, and mentors from the community like yourself, who will give their time to be able to mentor the project and the kids, so that they really are exposed to the real world and not just being in an academic environment. So we're building a very structured mentoring program for our kids. So this is where we're at. We already are recruiting for a principal. We are in the interview, and hopefully we'll be able to select top-notch principals to join, and then from there we'll start the teachers recruiting, and then registration is actually next week.
Yeah, coming up next week.
So people are coming in to register. We have a temporary office also on 56
In Temple Terrace?
in Temple Terrace, and so we'll be registering kids. So it's here, and we appreciate everybody's support into making this a reality.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us this evening, and welcome to Temple Terrace. We are excited about what you are bringing to the terrace.
Yep.
Thank
All
you
right,
very
thank
much for
you.
being
Thank
with
you.
us. Item 1D, State of the School presentation of Greco Middle School. Principal Andrew Olson will be presenting, and also presenting this evening on funds that have been awarded through our School Support Committee will be Angela Keller, Heather Clark, and Carrie Ladd. Principal.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you. I'm Drew Olson. I was introduced a month ago. I've been on the job for 8 weeks now, so Greco's in a little bit of a transition, and exciting times. So I'm going to kind of talk about that for a couple minutes. Really about what the best of what we currently offer, but we also have some exciting things that are in the process of happening too, including application to become an IB candidate school. So we're really excited about that, forming that bridge from Riverhills to King IB, and have that opportunity for all of Temple Terrace students to be able to have that IB experience without having to leave Temple Terrace. So very, very exciting times. So what I did pass out is just a one-page flyer that kind of talks through a little bit of that. But some of the things that we currently offer, we have a STEM program already with high school classes in engineering. We have a pre-CAPS program, which is the King Advanced Placement Scholar. So we have some specialty programs already in place. Agriculture, culinary arts, band, journalism, which is a high school credit course. Also high school credit math and science courses. Business technology, that's also high school credit. So we have a lot of great offerings that we already offer. I also brought a couple friends with me, a couple students that I want to introduce. We have a National Junior Honor Society program, which was one of our grant recipients. So we wanted to just thank you, but I want to introduce our NJHS sponsor, Angela Keller, and two 7th grade students, Anicia Callery and Talisa Talley Johnson.
And I'm actually going to defer my presentation to our president, Tally, because in our National Junior Honor Society, once we have our officer elections at the beginning of every school year, the officers run our general meetings every month. So Tally's going to do the speaking on behalf of our organization.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Talisa Johnson, and I'm the president of Greco Middle School's National Juniors Honor Society. We are here tonight to thank you for your generous contribution. Because of the Temple Terrace grant, we can proudly say our school has the National Juniors Honor Society Club. This grant allowed us to pay our national dues to have an official NJHS chapter. This will help prepare students like me for going into National Honor Society in high school, therefore preparing us for college. Thank you. We'll all try to make you proud.
Awesome, great job. So thank you so much. Just a couple things at the bottom of the one-page flyer I just wanted to point out because we do have some exciting changes ahead. We have a proposed boundary change, which, if approved by the school board, and we're confident that it will be, will include the boundaries of all of Temple Terrace will be zoned to attend Greco Middle School. So we're really excited about that. We think that's a great positive change for Temple Terrace. And for Greco. And so we're also in the process of applying to become an IB candidate school, which will, the deadline for that application is October 2019, and that'll start the 3-year process of transitioning to an IB a world school. And so very excited about that. So we have a lot of great things that are already happening, but even more to look forward to in the future. So hopefully we'll come back in a year. We'll have even better updates for everybody, and just very excited and humbled to be a part of the Temple Terrace community and to serve at Greco Middle School. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Principal Olson. Our next State of the School presentation will be Riverhills Elementary School, Principal Todd Conley, and then reporting on grant update funds from our School Support Committee will be Carly Soto and Stephanie Lewandowski. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. It is my pleasure to be here to just give you a brief update on some of the things going on at Riverhills before I turn it over to our excellent educators who will talk to you about the grants. We had 3 staff members who were just awarded professional development to attend IB training through grants provided through the IB. We just finished our first application period. We had 154 students accept offers to Riverhills. About 105 of those are going into kindergarten. That's where most of our seats are at, and then the rest of them will go into the other grade levels. We were able to add a few extra seats in second grade to have a co-teach unit at that grade level to continue to move, fill our building in the intermediate grade levels. We have our Riverfest International Celebration on Friday, April 5th from 5:30 to 7:30. This is a free event that celebrates cultures from our Riverhills families and staff. There's activities, games, food, and more. This is an annual event that we have, and the community is welcome to attend, and we would love to have you all come out and join us. Our staff is in the process of their IB self-study as we are completing our 3rd year as an authorized world school. We are reviewing documents and program element preparations for our evaluation visit with the IB organization next school year, and they will be out in February of 2020 to do our authorization. And I just want to take a minute to thank you all, thank the Temple Terrace community for all the work that you do with our students and in our school. A special thank you to the Garden Club. We've had the last few years some major construction projects going on, which causes our school to close down, and our garden has suffered because of that. You know, we've had a lot of weeds and overgrowing in the garden. So the Garden Club has partnered with our school. They've come out, they've weeded the garden, they've put new topsoil in. Each grade level has planter beds that they can use for instruction. So I just wanted to thank the Garden Club for all the work that they're doing, as well as all of you for the grants that these 2 ladies are going to talk to you about. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
So I'm Stephanie Lewandowski. I'm one of the kindergarten teachers, expecting the 105 kids for next year. One big thing that I have always loved in teaching is having the opportunity for STEM. So it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Last year, you guys helped me I got a giant STEM cart for my classroom full of, like gingerbread man, and they have to, build pieces for him to get across in Little Red Riding Hood's basket. So it ties into our IB themes of retelling stories and things like that. And with you guys and community members and parents of students that I had, was able to secure the complete funding for that project, that was 24 kids that got to use it last year. I have 29 kids that get to use it this year, and they are on that station, first center filled up every day. And I was even able to share some of it with the first grade, so when they're going into their things, that they can still use it and kind of grow with them. So thank you once again for your support on that, because it's definitely an enhancement in my classroom.
Thank you, Ms. Lewandowski.
Hi, everyone. Excuse me, my name is Miss Carly Soto. I'm so excited to be an educator in Temple Terrace, a city that you can go from pre-K to college. I just think that's amazing. I'm so impressed with Greco. I'm so happy that you guys are becoming IB with us. I'm here to report on the joint grant that you gave us with PTA for BrainPop. It's an online resource database that integrates with our Clever and our student ID numbers. So it's approved by our school district. We got funding last January, so you're seeing the full year of data. We had 3,190 logins with only 198 days of school. So kids are using this at home as well. When I surveyed the teachers, they're using this program at least once a week. They're using the videos, the activities. This is a lovely program where hard topics are brought to kid level. So topics that we get a little concerned about teaching, like 9/11, is done on BrainPop so well for a child to understand the gravity of it. Some of the other things that we use it for: quizzes at the end of the video to see if the children were engaged. It directly relates to our standards. We mostly use it with science, high-interest materials that are on student level. 80% of my teachers rate BrainPop as a needed resource yearly in my school. Because it integrates with our units of inquiry, and we've already built our units of inquiry from scratch, and while we were doing that, we had BrainPop as a resource, and we have continued. PTA has now put it in the budget. You guys were offsetting us to do for PTA to use that money for something else, so I really appreciate that because we needed it last year desperately. We had videos done about the animal habitat, Black History Month, kid-friendly explanation on civil rights. This program also does independent studies for topics of their choosing. Students know how to log on into this by themselves, so if they have an interest, they can use that when they're doing their IB research. 80% of my teachers believe this is a needed resource. Holidays were studied, social studies, classification, soils, energy, moon phases, types of plants, life cycle, plant growth, counting money, things about Mexico, the solar system, all the biographies that are on BrainPop as well. 90% of my teachers thought this was the best way to use our funding from Temple Terrace. So there's your data, 3,000 logins within a year from my staff and my students. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here this evening. Council, if the minutes of the February 5th, 2019 City Council meeting are acceptable, would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion around the minutes? All in favor, please signify with aye. Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Minutes stand approved. Persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda, a 3-minute time limit will be imposed on all comments from the public. Individual members of the public who are present in the audience may designate in writing a representative to speak on their behalf, not extending beyond a 10-minute period. As speakers come to the podium, please state your name and your city of residence. During public comment on items not on the agenda, the city manager and directors who are in attendance do make note of these items. During the city manager's report later in the agenda, Mr. Stevenson may make comment of the items related to city business where further research is necessary, and he or staff that he assigns will follow up. First this evening, Susan Greenbaum.
Good evening. I had wanted to be at the meeting last
well, 2 weeks ago, I was unable to come. I did watch it on the YouTube, however, and I was very concerned about it. I spoke with my neighbor, Ed Levine, former chair of psychology, former director of the Industrial and Organizational Psychology program at USF, and he was also concerned. Now, he can't be here tonight, but I'm going to read a letter from him that indicates his concern about the violation of academic procedures and courtesies where you do not take a dissertation in a subject that you're not, have no expertise in, that was not produced by an institution that you're familiar with, and say, looks like a dissertation to me, and then go from there to conclude that the doctoral degree is valid. I spent 30 some odd years at USF. I was the supervisor and committee member of dozens of doctoral dissertations. I was the graduate director of my department. I was the chair of my department. I was the president of the faculty senate, and I served on the board of trustees. And I have a lot of understanding of what are the ethical and credentialing issues in claiming to have a PhD. Now, I was going to leave this alone, but after what happened at the last meeting, I decided not to. I'm here in order to complain about the restoration of the title doctor on the website where the page of the mayor's is located. Now I'm going to read this letter from Ed, and then I might have a few more things to say. I write as a former chairperson of the Department of Psychology, former director of its doctoral program in Industrial and Organizational Psychology, also IO is what it's called, and I'm a professor emeritus at USF. My discipline has been established for over 100 years at IO Psychology, that is. Our doctoral program began in 1972, has awarded some 200 degrees, is consistently ranked among the best programs in the nation. The issue at hand concerns a misleading at best and fraudulent at worst claim by the current mayor of the city of Temple Terrace that she possesses a doctoral degree. You saying I'm done?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Greenbaum.
Well, thank you. I question your clock, and I certainly question your degree. This is not the way you award degrees. This is not the way you anoint them. This is a place that has almost 5,000 doctors living in it, and we are all offended. Thank you.
Deal Jundy, Temple Terrace, was here last time talking about the same thing. First, I'd like to address the city manager with your failed attempt to silence the voices of the citizens. I think what you did was rude, and we will not let this or anything else that we are passionate about be swept under the rug. Whether we express ourselves in these meetings, it's your duty to listen, or we do it on social media or wherever we deem necessary. It's our right, and you cannot say that we are lying or what we feel is irrelevant. Last meeting was almost like a skit that was ready to be played out for the cameras. As soon as someone spoke, you got your signal for action, the green light to go and silence the citizens, and then came the mayor's premeditated speech. My last time here, I expressed to you that we have been waiting to feel some type of emotion from you, some explanation. Never would I have expected that you continue to give everyone the runaround and defend your degrees despite any proof of them and despite being shut down. The only statements that have been proven are by the FBI agents who stated that the dissertations were graded by students who weighed them on a scale. Each graduate was offered their money back if they turned in their diploma, and half, including yourself, refused. We all know that you don't need it to be mayor, but the Florida statute 817-567 prohibits a person from putting doctor before their name or PhD after their name if their degree is from an accredited university. The Florida statute says that, not us. LinkedIn removed these titles from your profile because you did not meet the academic criteria, but leave it to the city of Temple Terrace to turn their faces on the Florida statute and put the title back on. This issue has become unreal, how everyone is turning their face on any integrity that the city has. I don't come here to ask for your resignation. I come to ask that the city and council members do the right thing and remove the title at the moment. Despite the good that you have done, there's too many to mention. I can't even search our city without this issue coming up. Mayor, I'm not sure where you plan to take on your career after this, but this will continue to follow you and has dented your reputation and credibility. We would have hoped that you took accountability, but it deemed hard for you. Forgive me if you feel like I have attacked you as a mayor or your accomplishments. That's not what I'm here to do. But I feel it is a dishonor to those that have done the work over the years to earn their degrees that you are able to use it and not feel remorse. Because based on the amazing work that you've done throughout the years and the fact that you are the face of this city, we expected more from you on this matter. That's it. Thank you.
Nicole Ford.
I'm going to use my time to start to finish reading Dr. Levine's letter.
Can I get your name and address, please?
I live in Temple Terrace. She ended with that is consistently ranked among the very best doctoral programs in the nation. The issue at hand concerns the misleading at best and fraudulent at worst claim by our current mayor, the city of Temple Terrace, that she possesses a doctoral degree in IO psychology. My concern, however, focuses not on the mayor's claim, but rather on Professor Emerita Susan McMillan, who made several declarations at the Temple Terrace City Council meeting on February 5th, 2019, in support of Ms. Gerardo's claim to possess a doctoral degree. Professor McMillan's comments were intended to provide evidence that the mayor's claim of a doctoral degree was legitimate and indeed seemed to create a veneer of legitimacy that was accepted by the citizens in attendance. I view Professor McMillan's actions regarding this issue as highly unethical and volatile of any notion of collegiality. Professor McMillan reported that she performed a review of a document provided by Ms. Gerardo, presumably her dissertation, and indicated that it was, in her judgment, equivalent to 2 dissertations. This created the inference that Ms. Gerardo is justified in claiming possession of a doctoral degree in IO psychology. Professor McMillan admitted she had no content knowledge of the area, given that her area of expertise is nursing, and further did not reveal the auspices under which she conducted her review. Moreover, she failed to provide a comprehensive review that could be in any way persuasive to scholars in my discipline that Ms. Gerardo met the standards required to earn the doctoral degree. Despite these deficiencies and her complete lack of acquaintance with the requirements for a doctoral degree in IO psychology, Professor McMillan was willing in a public arena to create that impression that Ms. Gerardo was justified in claiming the doctoral degree. To buttress her conclusion, Professor McMillan clearly stated that her standing and status at USF rendered her qualified to make the judgment concerning the dissertation and the legitimacy of the claim of a doctoral degree. Sincerely, Edward L. Levine in Temple Terrace. He is also resident of Temple Terrace. And I, as an emeritus of USF and a PhD in political science, and I know many other PhDs in Temple Terrace who are just as enraged at what Dr. McMillan did. It's an offense to the academy writ large. It's an offense to USF as the institution just down the street. If Mel wanted to do the right thing once she realized that her degree was wrong, she could have just gone down the street. She had something to start a dissertation with and could have done the right thing and done it the right way, and she made that choice. Now, moving on to the city manager. As a PhD in political science, I was overwrought with the dictatorial manner in which we were called instigators in which we were told that we were, causing problems because we're trying to uphold standards and ethics with our elected leaders. There's something called deliberative democracy, okay? I teach political science. And that involves citizens in a public forum such as this demanding their rights and that their leaders be held accountable and held to the highest ethical standards. And we have that right. That doesn't make us instigators.
Thank you.
That makes us citizens
Is there anyone else who
demanding
would
our
like to
rights.
address council this evening? Seeing none, next there is a resolution approving the funding for the demolition of the structure located at 108 Holland Avenue. Community Development Director Amir Anisi will explain.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. I would like to provide a brief description about the base of my determination to issue a condemnation order for existing structure at 108 Holland. Back in October 2nd, 2018, I performed an inspection along with Director Baroni, Code Enforcement, Code Compliance Director, and it has been substantiated that the structure does not have the adequate minimum structural safety as required by City Code of Ordinances. Pursuant to the code section 8167 C and D, the structure poses serious threat to the public health, safety, and welfare, has inadequate sanitary or unsanitary condition, constitute fire hazard, and has been allowed to deteriorate to the degree unsuitable for occupancy because of inadequate maintenance and dilapidation. So these are the basic determination and finding facts about this structure, and I would like to ask and request funding approval to be able to demo this structure. And the staff is available for additional questions. Mr. Baroni is present if you guys need additional information. So.
Thank you, Mr. Anisi. Ahead of questions from council, I'd ask if there are members of the public that would like to address council on this item. Council questions? Councilman Schisler.
Yes.
How will they, and I think I did the answer, but refresh for everybody else. How will this lien system, the additional lien, the third lien, work? We're going to pay $8,300 to have it torn down, and I think we had the same situation down on Riverhills. That's still, who's going to pay that someday,
Well,
eventually?
Yes, I mean, we have to pay it in order to get a
Understand
demo.
that.
We will go back and again add the third lien on top of the two existing lien we have on the property.
Now, are these extinguishable by any mechanism? Will this third lien be extinguishable by any bankruptcy or anything down the road? This lien will stick. Someday we, when the property, if the property sells, we'll be reimbursed for it?
Yes, generally it would be for this type of thing. I mean, usually mortgages, and if the mortgage is foreclosed on, it oftentimes extinguishes the lien.
Right.
There are certain liens that have been given priority by statute. This should be one of them. Not to say it's not arguable, everything is, but this one, it's like lot clearing. For some reason, lot clearing can't be, it has a priority status. So in essence, this could be argued that this is lot clearing.
Okay, the reason I ask is the other two liens that are there are basically fine liens. There's been minimal expenditure of city assets to deal with it. This is actually going to be writing a check for it. So, I mean, does this lien jump in front of the other two in status, or?
The other two meaning are code enforcement liens?
Yeah.
Yes, this would jump in front of the
Okay,
other two.
so
The
we'll-
other two, those could be wiped out if the property were foreclosed on,
But this one cannot.
not this one.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions? Councilman Downey, and then I'll go to Councilman Schiller. Thank you.
I guess my question is pretty much the same. I mean, these amounts, this property isn't worth what these liens are.
Based on the current assessment of property, from Hillsborough County Appraiser Office, no. But again,
I mean, even with a house, they wouldn't be
Yeah.
worth what this is. So what do you think I think it should be torn down. Okay, I'm one of the Rotarians who went in there
absolutely.
years ago. It should have been torn down before now. I know it takes a long time for this to happen. So I have no problem with this coming down. I think my only question is the same direction as Mr. Schisler's, is that, at what point is somebody going to come in and say, hey, I bought this empty piece of property, I'm doing something wonderful with it, and I don't want to pay you any money? Who is going to pay us this $8,300?
Once we complete the demo, we will immediately follow the third lien. And then again, we have to go through the legal procedure, of course, with our city attorney. And again, how to be able to retrieve our expenditure.
Thank you. Councilman Schiller.
Thank you. Just to move this along quickly, did the city do a title search on the property? Because that will certainly flush out a lot of the concerns. If you say it's lien 1, 2, and 3, is it 1, 2, and 3 in our eyes, or is it lien 1, 2, and 3 that's recorded in the courthouse that will show up when somebody goes to buy it? And if somebody does buy it, the only person that can say we will waive that lien would be the city, unless there's an IRS lien or something that takes precedence over us. So the question is, have we done a title search? Can certainly answer that question very quickly, because if there's a bank that's first in line, and that bank loan is $200,000, you could pretty much kiss your money goodbye. We do have a duty and a responsibility of a city to maintain our neighborhoods. I agree with that. But the fact is that, to clearly answer Mr. Schisler's question as, how strong are these liens, it depends if there's anybody in front of us, how much those are for. And then any discretion to be given on waiving the liens would be discretion of the city if somebody comes and asks you, like they did with the code board, to reduce your lien. So have we done a title search? Do we know what?
I have not done a title search. I don't
Okay.
know if the zoning has.
Right. We haven't done the title search.
So you're talking about an encumbrance report. I mean,
Sure. When you're going to buy a property in a foreclosure anywhere, you know what the lien's on. If
Sure.
there's the one house that was on the river, when there was IRS liens on it, the one lot that we tore down, I mean, technically, we're behind that $2 million lien or whatever it was. You may never see your money. So I was just trying to shed light on. So you need to have the title, you really would need to have the title search. I think regardless, it's our duty and obligation to make this happen, because if that place is in really rough shape. So it's got to happen.
And just, I would like to mention that the house on Riverhills, we retrieve our money. So the money we expended for demo, we went back to the bank and we got their money.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we're clear on that.
Councilman Ross.
We're really moving towards this house needs to come down. We had worked for years on this with these owners. There's multiple owners involved. Whether or not there is a title on the property, I don't know that I can answer that either. That's a good question. We'll certainly find out. We are engaging in something that we have a fiduciary responsibility to do. $8,300 is probably a pretty good price, because they're taking the slab out and restoring the property to ground, basically. And we will do our best to recoup our money. Mr. Anisi's comment that we were able to have the bank at Riverhills actually paid us with a check as reimbursement to take that house down. So if there is in fact a mortgage on the place and there's a lender involved, we'll certainly pursue that. They do have 30 days to pay this until we file a lien.
Councilman Ross.
Thank you. Good discussion, obviously concerned about the city recovering the cost, which is a good discussion to have. However, I would maintain that we may not know for certain how this is all going to play out in the future. Liens could be forthcoming that aren't against the property now. We don't have any way to know that.
I think that it is the city's duty to the neighbors and to the neighborhood to do this. I think even if we don't see any of this money, and I hope we do, but even if we don't, this is a good use of $8,300 of city money. If you have to look at the neighbor and say, you know, you have the opportunity to fix the neighborhood here, and over $8,000, you're not going to do it. So therefore, I would move to approve the resolution funding $8,300 for the demolition of the property.
I second that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Thank you, motion carries.
Thank
Next, item 6B, a resolution authorizing Kimley-Horn to provide design services for replacement of treetops force main. Troy Tinch, Public Works Utilities Director, will explain. Mr. Tinch.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. Troy Tinch, Public Works Utilities Director. If you'll notice on the agenda, I actually have the next two resolutions. So what I would like to do is talk about both these resolutions involve enhancement or force main improvements. And so what I'd like to do is maybe talk in generalities about force mains and then speak specifically to each of the individual resolutions so that proper parliamentary procedures are undertaken so we can move those along. I think that would give us a kind of a generalized overview of force mains, and then we can move from there. So what exactly is a force main? I know I've spoken on multiple occasions about what a lift station is. And those lift stations are located, again, in areas of low elevation, and they serve to pump affluent water from those low elevations to higher elevations where it can either flow into another force main or even flow into a gravity system. Well, for it to get from that lift station to that point of higher elevation, it has to flow through a pipe. In this instance, it flows through a force main. So that's exactly what that is. It's a confined pipe that allows that system to operate under pressure because it is being pumped, and then it flows to at a given distance to that outfall. Generally, it's into a manhole, or again, it can attach itself to another force main and continue that pressurized system moving, or go to more of a gravity system. So these force mains, they're generally made out of pipe material, metal, or some sort of plastic, high-density polyethylene. In the instance with both of these force mains, they were comprised of ductile iron pipe. Ductile iron pipe is a very commonly used product, especially for force mains. However, it does have some pitfalls. It's made of metal, so it is susceptible to corrosion, and a lot of the types of gases that you encounter within these systems, within the force mains and with the lift stations, are acidic in nature. So they have a tendency to wear those force mains down, to literally eat away at the walls of the force main so that eventually it cracks, it leaks, and you have maintenance-related issues. In addition, it's susceptible to tuberculation, which is that scaling on the inside of the pipe. Over time, it scales up to the point where it restricts flow or even prohibits flow within that pipe. So what we're proposing with the two force main replacement projects with Kimley-Horn is our PVC and high-density polyethylene, or HDPE pipe. This type of pipe actually has a much greater lifespan, believe it or not, than the ductile iron, because the nature it does not have the issues with the acids and the gases that you would typically find within these lift stations. So you can expect to get a longer lifespan, and it's also a little bit easier to work with. It's a little more flexible, obviously, than a rigid metal pipe. So that said, I want to speak specifically now about the Treetops force main. The Treetops force main is located in the Riverdale subdivision. Riverdale is actually outside of the city. It's in unincorporated Hillsborough County. However, it is in our service area for utilities. So we're responsible for maintenance of that system. To give you an idea where Riverdale is located, it's out off of Harney Road, between Harney Road and the Harney Bypass Canal. So down in the southeastern part of the city. This Treetops force main is connected to the Treetops lift station. And you may recall that I brought that forward a couple months back to have that system redesigned. It's currently in that redesign process. So having Kimley-Horn again on board to do both the design for the lift station as well as the force main is going
going to streamline that process. So anyway, that the existing force main traverses through the neighborhood. It's about 3,200 feet in length. And what we're proposing to do is actually take that, abandon the existing force main, bring that force main over to the right-of-way for the Harney Canal, and actually would be a straighter shot about 2,800 feet from the lift station, Treetops lift station, directly to lift station SB, one of our master lift stations. That master lift station is located on a corner of Harney Road and the bypass canal. It's that large building that sits there on the corner. So we're actually going to make the design process easier from that standpoint. In addition, it will be less intrusive to the neighborhood because we won't be going back through that area, digging up a lot of driveways, roadways, and things of that nature, sidewalks, to install this new force main. We'll just abandon the old once the new is in place along that new right-of-way and move forward from there. So that said, staff recommends the City Council approve the expenditure of $65,328 for design of the Treetops force main. The proposed work will be authorized as a task order under the existing general professional services agreement between the city and Kimley-Horn. Funding for this effort has been budgeted in the Water and Sewer Utility Fund within account number 430-1931-535-.63-34. I'll stand for questions, if any.
Prior to questions, are there members of the public who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, council questions? Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I did have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I thought you were asking a question. What's the diameter of these pipes?
The force main that we're proposing for Treetops is 8-inch diameter pipe, and it's being replaced with like size.
Okay. I know I've learned a lot about public utilities from you, but so I know in the past that you were able to repair some segment of pipe with a pipe that went inside of the existing pipe and then hardened with hot water. I guess this project's not a candidate for that?
It wouldn't be a candidate. We've had several issues actually with this force main, and it was designed and built in the 80s, 82, I believe. So it's really beyond its lifespan. You can get about 30 years or so, 30 to 40 years out of a force main. So going in and trying to line it, you would have to shut the system down, pump the system manually, try and go in and line it. It's just not a great candidate. It actually would probably be more expensive in addition to line that distance of a pipe. So in this case, it really is a better alternative. We can leave that system online. We can construct the new force main once it's ready to go, literally ready to turn to bring online. We can close the old system, bring the new one online, and then abandon in place.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, excuse me.
Councilman Schisler.
I do have a question. Okay, this will be for design services. What will be the next step after that?
Construction.
And who will, we
would competitively.
Where do we stand in that process?
What we would do from that point, once we have the bid documents and everything pulled together as part of the design, we'll move forward with bidding that project. We'll likely couple it with the lift station to try and get a better price since it's kind of one and the same. And we'll try and bid that out, or competitively bid that out, and then it goes to the lowest competitive bid.
Okay, in our overall capital plan, what is the total Treetops budget for design, build, construction? I don't remember the number from the plan. Yes, 2 million?
Well,
I don't know that number right off, but we do have, again, based on the design that they come back with to redesign this force main section, I think we should have enough money in there to do the construction as well.
Correct.
We actually broke out, if we look at the way we did capital expenditures for sewer and sewer lift stations this year, we actually broke out design services from construction. So there's actually two different line items, one for each. So if we weren't going to get to the construction this year, you'll probably see it in next year's budget. But I do think that Treetops was included for design and construction this year. I don't know what that number is right off, but.
I move to approve the resolution for the design services contract with Kimley-Horn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to the next resolution, it would be for the improvements to Force Main A. Force Main A is, of course, attached to Lift Station A, yet another project that I brought forward a couple of months back for design that is currently in the design process. To give you guys an idea where Lift Station A and Force Main A is located, Lift Station A is over off of Richline Street, over near the Lightfoot Center. There's a couple buildings there off to the east of Richline, and the Force Main runs from that lift station through an easement over to Amber on the Caroline, and then jogs over and then runs south down Ridgedale. And at a point at which it enters into a manhole, that manhole is located in the middle of the road at Ridgedale and Mission Hills, and then it goes gravity and continues to flow south. The length of that force main is about 2,700 feet. Now, that is a situation where currently it's a 6-inch force main, and it's also ductile iron, and we're proposing to upgrade that upsize that to an 8-inch. Again, polyethylene PVC force main. So we'll get a little bit of additional capacity out of that pipe and add a little additional capacity for the station. So if that said, staff recommends the City Council approve the expenditure of $74,214 for the design of Force Main A. The proposed work will be authorized as a task order under the existing General Professional Services Agreement between the City and Kimley-Horn. Funding for this effort has been budgeted in the Water and Sewer Utility Fund with an account number 430-1931-535.63-34. I will stand for questions.
And prior to questions, I'd ask if there are any members of the public wishing to address council on this item. Seeing none, council questions. If there are no questions, if acceptable, would entertain a motion authorizing Kimley-Horn to provide design services for the replacement of Force Main A.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye. Aye. Opposed, the nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, a resolution modifying the City Council's Rule of Order and Procedure. City Manager Stevenson will explain. Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Out of our last meeting, we had some discussion about taking the order of business with council as a rule of thumb that we use in our rules and procedures. We had discussed, as we stand right now, we have compiled in the first agenda item, recognitions, proclamations, presentation, and board appointments. We had discussed breaking that out so that we can segregate some of that business, if you would. What we are proposing, you've got a red line in front of you that indicates item number 1 is being recognitions and proclamations. Item number 2 would be presentations in themselves, and item number 3 would be the board appointments, which is typically something that council acts on. Presentations and proclamations and recognitions, we typically don't. We also took the liberty of adding, after a conversation with you, Madam Mayor, under new business, of adding the ability for council to provide board reports on the various boards that we have liaisons on. I think that would be a good place to do that on a routine basis, so that everyone knows what's happening with the various boards that everybody represents. So with that said, the resolutions before you, that is just to change this order of business, if you would, and we'll stand for questions if there are any.
Are there members of the public wishing to address council on this item? Seeing none, council questions? Councilman Donahue.
So if we approve the change in the order, have we also changed the fact that the conversation we had at the last meeting was that we occasionally have presentations, just like tonight, we had presentation and there was no place for us to ask a question. So does that change because it's been separated from recognitions and proclamations, which I understand there's no need to say anything, but in presentations, there have been many times when we've had a question of the presenter, but it's not been in our procedures to do that. So is that being changed? And if that is, I don't know where I see that.
May I respond?
Yes, I'm sorry, City Manager Stevenson.
I looked into that. There's nothing in any rules and regulations that says you guys can't ask questions under presentations. It would be certainly up to council's wishes if they want to do that. I don't know that we have anything that says you guys can't ask questions at presentations. Sometimes it's appropriate. Understanding that the more questions you ask, the longer the meeting goes on. But certainly, with presentations, we typically just rely on a presentation by a group or an individual. I don't know that they're prepared to answer questions, but certainly I don't know that it's not appropriate to ask them questions. So.
Well, I guess I'll ask the question then of Madam Mayor. Obviously, if we have a presentation from the Arts Council and they're inviting us to Art en Bloc, there's no need to respond. But if we have a presentation from the Innovation Alliance and they bring something forward that either we haven't heard before or we're not sure of, how do you want us to indicate that we would like to ask them a question? Because normally we wait for you to say, are there any questions?
And under presentations, our practice has been to strictly have it as a presentation. As I shared at the end of last meeting, the only concern is if a presentation comes forward and questions are asked that are leading to action that has not been formally noticed, we are excluding citizen participation and moving towards taking action on something that we have not officially noticed, so that if there are citizens that have strong feelings either way on an issue, we are really aborting them from the process. So that's the only concern with a presentation that then moves into actionable discussion. Also, if there's one council member that's very pro on an item that may be driving and inviting someone to come and present and then push an item along, it negates that we are to act as one body in unison. So I think if there are questions, we can entertain those. They need to be questions and not statements. I think we need to police ourselves and be respectful of one another, that if it truly is a question to seek understanding, ask that question while the presenter's here. But if it becomes a bully pulpit for pushing a particular point of view that hasn't been officially noticed, or that really is that slippery slope, hopefully we can self-police and be respectful that if there's an agenda we want to bring forward, we will have that appropriately agended as a topic for discussion for the entire body to rule in on.
Okay, could we move it to new business? If we really had, if somebody brings us something, and I mean, most of the time it's not going to happen, because you're right, it is a presentation, they're telling us so much. But I mean, I know we had a presentation one night from the MPO, which we were all surprised to hear something they were saying, and we wanted to make a comment to let them know that we were not on board with what they were saying. So I mean, I think there needs to be, we need to figure it out. Maybe we say that presentations are just like they are now. So I'm trying to clarify. I want to know how you want to go from.
And perhaps what I'd propose is when we get our agenda and we get them, we already know some of the items that will be on in April and May. If you see an item under presentations that you really think is something that you want to take action on, or that is a more substantive discussion, I would call City Manager Stevenson and ask that be put under our actionable agenda item.
That's a good solution.
And that if there's something that right now is listed as a presentation that I have a strong feeling there's a specific action I want to take, there's something I really think is actionable there, then let's move that under the agenda item of that we're taking action on. And
thank you. That was my whole point.
Councilman Ross.
Yes, I agree with that course of action. I would like the ability to ask questions, but I also understand that if it's something that we're going to take action on, we should either move it to an agenda item or request that it be scheduled as an agenda item at a future meeting. But I too would like the ability to ask, and I don't really have any actions I want to take. Most of it is on the MPO studies or the reports. I had probably a question or two that I would have asked about the new high school, not to take action, but there was a couple of things that are on my mind, and we don't have the opportunity to do that. But I agree with you. We have to police ourselves, because we can wind up in a 45-minute discussion because we're asking what color tile they're going to put on the bathrooms, and, you know, we don't need to do that. But a question or two after a presentation, it would be nice to be able to do that.
Mr. Stevenson.
That's all good conversation, has nothing to do with the resolution that's before you.
Well, it
I
does,
think
because
that-
it has to do with what our, we want to be clear about what it is we're approving.
Well, I think, again, Madam Mayor probably laid out some ground rules that if everybody's acceptable to asking questions at presentations, again, I think it certainly would be appropriate to ask questions. If you really have to have discussions or you want some action on an item, I think it's a good suggestion to call me. We can certainly move it in the agenda down to new business, and we can certainly relay that to the person doing the presentation, so that you can have further discussion. Certainly, if we get two of you that call me and say, I want you to move, you know, presentations, discussion presentations down to new business, certainly that would be something that would trigger us to realign the agenda. But whether or not you guys ask questions during presentations that's entirely up to you. There are no rules and procedures in place. I don't know that we need to do anything until we know that there's a problem that we need a rule or procedure.
Thank you. So, I'm sorry, Councilman Schisler.
I just got to weigh in on this. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Stevenson. However, I may not realize there's a question until I hear what they have to say. So I'm not sure whether that's really going to be feasible or workable, and, you know, to get 2 or 3 people to agree to that. However, I think that we have the latitude, we should be able to come up with the latitude, some way, shape, or form, that academic questions, yes, we should be able to ask those, I think, during the presentations. A lot of times, if nothing more than to clarify what's the source of this information type thing. But I believe that presentations that have been brought that require action, or that's perceived to expectation of action, has always been put down into the agenda portion of it. So I think that the problem is kind of minimal. I really do. But I would be willing to make a motion on this, that we move forward with it, and the opportunity for minimal question time, minimal questions allowed during the presentation time, and if that requires modifying the rules of procedure, then so be it. But I agree, we could get really bogged down on certain presentations, whereas I said, well, you know, this is great, can we bring this back for, council business, maybe that type of an approach to it. But I think that the bottom line is what we need to do is a good move, it's a good start, and we can move from there. I'm the new kid on the block, so I'm still feeling my way. I don't know when to ask the right question sometimes. So this is a dynamic document. We can change this as much as we need to make it work, to make this council be efficient and work to the best of its ability.
So did I hear you making that motion?
Yes, I
Mr.
did.
Schisler? Motion, do we have a second? Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye. Aye. Opposed, the nay sign. Thank you, motion carries. Next, a first public hearing and reading of an ordinance to vacate easement 12216 Wood Duck Place. The public hearing is now open. City Engineer Vinnie Carrazza will explain.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm Vinnie Carrazza, City Engineer. There is a petition to vacate a utility easement in the backyard of 12216 Wood Duck Place. And at this time, I'd like to just have the council recognize Mr. Stephen Carpenter. He's the owner, and I'd like to get you to see that there's a person behind this issue. So briefly, a utility easement is an easement that allows a utility the right to use and access specific areas of another's property for laying gas, electric, water, and sewer lines. Having an easement gives the utility the right to use the land, but the utility does not own the land. So in this case, Mr. and Mrs. Stephen and Rupa Carpenter The petitioners own the land at 12216 Wood Duck Place, and they would like to build a pool in the backyard. From the presentation slide, do we have anything that I submitted? Okay, I brought backup information. From my backup handout, you can see that the subject property is located on our northern city limits. As you see there. And the property just borders right with Hillsborough County. The 7.5 feet wide utility easement is in the rear of the carpenter's property. A notice of tonight's public hearing is posted in the front of the property, as well as being advertised in the Tampa Bay Times. Vacating this portion of the utility easement will not cause operational difficulties as, one, sewer and water is served by the city of Tampa, and they have indicated no objections to this petition, as well as their sewer lines and water lines are in the front of the property. And two, Mr. Carpenter has contacted other non-city utilities, and they do not have any objections. This petition to vacate the utility easement at 12216 Wood Duck Place meets the requirement as set forth in Section 12-330 of the Terrace Municipal Code. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the vacating of this utility easement after at least one public hearing. This concludes my presentation. I'll stand for questions.
And prior to questions, I'd ask, sir, would you like to address council on this item?
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. And I'd ask if there are any other members of the public that would like to address council on this item. The public hearing is now closed. I would ask council questions. Councilman Ross.
Just one question. You indicated, and it was in the packet that I read before the meeting, that other utilities have expressed that they have no need for this easement. Is it required that somebody has this in writing or something, or is that just the petitioner that does that and tells us that, or does the city reach out to TECO and Verizon or who? I mean, how does that process work?
Well, we do have a checklist that's a little bit outdated. A lot of those utilities are out of business and whatnot. So I had advised Mr. Carpenter to call 811, call before you dig, and he had a list of the utilities that are active in the area. He contacted all of them, and the ones that affirmatively respond that they didn't have any objections were City of Tampa, Charter, Spectrum, Frontier, and TECO, and the rest didn't reply. Right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions, council? Councilman
Madam Mayor,
Schiller.
I'll move staff recommendation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Very good. If the clerk would read the title of the ordinance, please.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the vacation of approximately 7.5-foot utility easement behind the property having an address of 12216 Wood Duck Place and located in the portion of Section 11, Township 28 South, Range 19, East Hillsborough County, providing for conditions of vacation, providing for recordation, providing for an effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Council, I'd ask if there is any further discussion. All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Next, a first public hearing and reading to adopt an ordinance approving the voluntary annexation of 7118 East Fowler Avenue. The public hearing is now open. Planner Mary Ann Abrahamson will present.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I am here to present Annex 1806, the voluntary annexation of 7118 East Fowler Avenue. This is the first public hearing and reading. The owner is Khalif Mansour with Elite Auto. Applicant's agent is Nick Rafai, and they are here this evening. As mentioned, the location is 7118 East Fowler Avenue. The request is to annex just one parcel of 0.58 acres. The existing future land use in the county is R6. The proposed future land use after annexation is commercial. The existing zoning is commercial neighborhood in the county, and the proposed after annexation would be commercial general. So as of 2018, this property has an assessed value of $286,000 with an ad valorem value of just over $5,000. The second public hearing and reading is scheduled for March 5th, and staff recommends that council approve the ordinance for voluntary annexation of 7118 East Fowler Avenue.
Thank you, Ms. Abrahamson. I'd ask Mr. Mansour, would you like to address council on this item? Are there any members of the public that would like to address council on this item? The public hearing is now closed. Council members, questions? If the clerk would please read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the voluntary annexation of one parcel of certain real property totaling 0.58 plus minus acres, lying within the unincorporated area of Hillsborough County and located north of Fowler Avenue East, east of North Drive, and west of Riverhills Drive, with an address of 7118 East Fowler Avenue, legally described in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, redefining the corporate boundaries of the city to include the annexed area, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
If acceptable, would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance on first reading. If approved, the ordinance will appear for a second reading and public hearing on March 5th, 2019. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the annexation of the property located at 7118 East Fowler Avenue.
We have
Second that.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Mayor, I do have a question. I have a question for our staff. Years back, in order to keep consistency and have things more streamlined, when the city of Temple Terrace had annexed Pleasant Terrace, all along 56th Street, there were properties that had zonings all over the board. And the city came in and said, let's keep them consistent and zone them all commercial or whatever the case is. So in this case, which is probably more beneficial to the property owner, I see that you're rezoning portion of it to commercial and the other portion to residential. Why would it not be, it says proposed land use is the R9, and then existing is commercial neighborhood. Proposed zoning, are you going to do the whole property to CG? Or
No,
are you
my
doing half and
apologies. No,
half?
it's, the proposed future land use is commercial.
For the entire
The
parcel?
entire thing, yep.
That just keeps
So-
it consistent, I think, and
Yep.
that's my only point. So if you already done it, fantastic.
Yep, it'll be commercial.
So is like the
yes.
residential component, is that just grandfathered in to be used as residential? Or?
No, this was just an error. The proposed future land use, the R9, Temple Terrace, it should have just read commercial.
Okay, so it's
I will-
going from
it'll-
a mixed use, residential, commercial to all commercial?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Are there any other questions? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Item 6G, a first public hearing and reading to adopt an ordinance approving the voluntary annexation of 8901 Maceland Drive. The public hearing is now open. Planner Mary Ann Abrahamson will present.
This item is Annex 1807, as mentioned, voluntary annexation of 8901 Maceland Drive. First public hearing and reading. The owner and applicant is Henry Vickery of VC Properties. Oh, other one. It's the other presentation. Thank you. So as mentioned, this is 8901 Maceland Drive. This is located in our US 301 industrial area. The property directly to the west is the property that was most recently annexed into the city, the Ajax Paving Company. So this is now coming right after. This property is 2.21 acres. The existing future land use in the county is CMU 12. The proposed is industrial in the city of Temple Terrace. And existing zoning is manufacturing in the county, and proposed is light industrial in the city of Temple Terrace. So per the county tax collector in 2018, this property has an assessed value of $257,000 approximately, with an ad valorem value of $4,700. This information was imposed incorrectly on the staff report, and it will be corrected with the next one. I just want to bring that to your attention for the record. These are the correct numbers. The property is currently vacant, as you see, and the applicant, is proposing to develop the site and submit a site plan application after the rezone goes through. The second public hearing and reading is March 5th, 2018, and staff recommends the council approve the ordinance for the voluntary annexation of 8901 Maesland Drive.
Thank you. Are there members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council members, questions? Councilman Ross.
We've had discussion about this, but first of all, let me tell you, I'm all in favor of this annexation. That's not a question. But we've had discussion at the past few meetings about having some type of discussion over these annexations, particularly the ones that we're doing in the 301 Industrial Park, so that we kind of know at what point we're approaching the tipping point for a third fire station, and at what point we're approaching the tipping point to add new police officers, new utilities. We have plans to have that discussion.
Councilman Ross, we can certainly put something together and look at our serviceability. I think that we have capability to take on, from what I know, take on the entire industrial park out there.
Without adding a third fire station?
Well, you know, the industrial park is limited in its service impact to us because it's commercial property. We can certainly look at it. We can certainly provide you with a report coming back to you.
What I'm looking at is, I'd like to know, okay, we are about 10 annexations away from needing a third fire station to maintain our accreditation or adding officers, so that we don't get to the last one and then say, well, if we vote tonight to annex this, we're going to have to vote to build $1 million fire station. I'd kind of like to see the train coming a few curves away rather than right when it's right in front of us. So that's what I'm trying to get at.
We will work on some kind of report coming back to council that addresses that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, council? If the clerk would please read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the voluntary annexation of one parcel of certain real property totaling 2.21 plus minus acres, lying within the unincorporated area of Hillsborough County and located on the southeast corner of Professional Place and Maslin Drive, with an address of 8901 Maslin Drive, legally described in Exhibit A, attached hereto and made a part hereof, redefining the corporate boundaries of the city to include the annexed area, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
If acceptable, would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance on first reading. If approved, the ordinance will appear for a second reading and public hearing on March 5th, 2019.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Council business. Is there any carryover business from our previous meeting? Seeing none, new business? Councilman Schisler and then Councilman Ross.
To piggyback off of Councilman Ross's comments, would it be helpful if we were to schedule a work session with a time certain work session down the road so that we could discuss and set policy for the administration so that they know what we're looking at? Because I've asked this question before, particularly with regards to service areas. We go here, we go there, and we're doing this, and it's great. I'm in favor of it. But I know that, going back to the campaign, the election, people, how are you going to deal with annexation? Well, right now it's a scattergun approach, and I want to make sure we don't get caught short sometime, and then everybody's hair's on fire for it. So maybe we could put together a workshop soon, late spring, early summer, that type of thing, so that the administration has time to put together a proposal or a game plan, and we have time to think about what we want to do with it.
Thank you for that suggestion. Councilman Schisler, and I might suggest, we're all currently doing our pre-work for our upcoming March 11th retreat. And I think one of the questions that has been posed was what key projects, what key issues, and although it might not be a project, but it is a key issue, let's have a substantive discussion around annexation, or let's have it, so if we could, especially on that question, be very very deliberate in our response on some of the discussion points we want to have. We'll make sure that we carve out. I think there are probably at least one or two council people that have some projects they really want to sell to the other council people, so want to be able to allocate that time for that substantive discussion. But I think our March 11th retreat might be that opportunity for us to really get our arms around some of those issues.
That works.
Councilman Ross, and then we'll go to Councilman Chambers.
I'll be quick. First of all, and this may be in the city manager's report. If it is, Charles, I apologize. But we had a couple of meetings ago discussion about a person who wanted an extension on his lien reduction, Mr. Vincent Hernandez. And we passed an extension whereby he had a date to pay half and then another date to pay the other half. I just want to report, and again, I don't know if Charles is going to, but I just want to report that he did in fact pay the half, the first installment, the first half. So that's a good thing. That's a positive. Hopefully he'll make the second payment. And the second thing I have is, Mr. Stevenson, first of all, I need to make sure I have my facts right, which is always a good place to start. But do we still have a city program whereby residents can bring in old American flags for disposal? We do? I had been told we eliminated that.
I don't know. Mr. O'Brien? I know we used to have
That's why I wanted to check my facts, because I was told that didn't exist anymore.
Well, Councilmember Ross, we used to do that as part of our annual police review, if you will, where we had a formation of all of our officers, and that was turned in, and we had a flag burning in cooperation with the Boy Scouts. We will certainly still take a flag, but of late, in the past, I would say 5 years, our VFW outside the city, but the VFW out on 40th Street actually has been taking care of the honorable destruction of American flags. And when they come in, I still accept them. We just don't have a formalized process to do that, but we'll still help our citizenry be able to get rid of their flags appropriately, and if they wanted to bring them here, we can do that. But it would be the VFW that actually takes care of the ceremony.
Mr. Stevenson, would it be feasible for you to explore trying to establish some partnership on an ongoing basis with VFW or somebody, and maybe install a receptacle at the library or city hall or something whereby residents can bring these in and, if it's feasible. If it's not feasible, then don't do it, but.
That appears to be a pretty easy task to take care of.
Well, if it's cumbersome, tell us that, but.
I don't know why it would be.
Thank you. Councilman Chambers.
Yeah, on that, at the rec center, we used to take flags at the rec center and take them up to Florida Flag and pin it. I don't know if Mr. Langfeld still does that, or even if they're still in business, but that used to happen. And then back to the annexation issues. When I worked, the city had an extensive annexation plan. It's got to be around somewhere. So we already have a plan, and the threshold levels and all that was developed years ago. So we need to look for that plan.
There is, and we're in the process, Mr. Pauly's in the process of updating that plan into a 3-year plan so that we can do some of this projections, if you would. Just to let you know that these annexations aren't done blindly by community development. There are service requests that we send out to all the departments. All the departments have the input to say we can service this area without additional police or fire, so on and so forth. I do agree with you that we ought to have some projection in the future that when we reach a certain point, we may start having a problem. And we can certainly work on that level of service report and have a workshop if council so desires. I think it would be a good exercise, again, just for everyone's knowledge. We will do that.
Thank you. Council, any other new business? Mr. Stevenson, City Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've given each of you a folder with a whole bunch of information. I'll try to go through this rather quickly. Most of it is just informational type material. It doesn't really need any action, but stuff that we thought we needed to share with you. There's a letter in there from the MPO to the legislature about issues that they have and issues that they support and oppose. Again, just for your edification, it was sent out to the city managers in the region. Item number 2 is a memo that Mr. Albano has provided to us that gives you an update and a status on his recruitment efforts and staffing levels. I know that his staff has become very aggressive with getting staffing up, and they're doing a tremendous job at, I think, getting us where we need to be. We're almost there, and I asked him to put this letter together just to give you guys just an update. At our last meeting, there was a gentleman that, from Rolling Terrace, if I remember correctly, was asking about fence permits. Mr. Anisi was asked to give me kind of just a briefing on the department policy for the need of fence permits. Certainly, we've provided you with some revenue estimates from the last couple of years. I will let you know that we do have a standard department policy that somebody has a problem with 3 or less sections of fence that they do not need a permit. So we look at that as more of a maintenance, but we do require a permit for new fencing and replacement fencing. Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Ross expressed, Mr. Hernandez did make his first payment, and we're looking for mid-March for him to make that second payment, and that's wonderful that he's following through with that agreement with council. There is a memo in here from Alan Denham, who is our TICO liaison, that mention was made about using the poles on 56th Street for banners and decorations, as follows. With conversation I've had with Mr. Denham in the past, they are no longer approving banners and decorations on their wood poles, of which is up and down 56th Street. They will allow it on concrete and steel poles, but that's not what we have along 56th Street. So I'm not quite sure what to do with that, other than they're not going to give us permission to use those poles on 56th Street. Yes, ma'am.
Can we remove all the hangers from those poles then? Because they're still there.
They are.
Yeah, so,
We can.
I mean, I don't know if they're dangerous or not, but I mean, it's just one more thing. That's
We
hanging on
will,
the pole.
we will approach TICO with doing that.
Yeah.
That would be something that they would have to do, not us, but I'll certainly reach out to Mr. Denham about that request. Previous discussion, we had previous discussion, I think Mr. Schistler brought it up, about the status of lining projects, lining our sewer mains. Mr. Tinch has taken the opportunity to give you an update on that and that agreement with Arcadia, and it kind of explains some of the complications that we've run into. Certainly, they're doing continuing work to get that corrected and look at maybe a different technique in order to get that done, but that will come back to council certainly at some later date. But that gives you an idea of what they've been doing with sewer main lining, if you would. There was some confusion from our last meeting on the applications for some boards. We have been working with the clerk's office in order to straighten out those announcements and certainly the applications, so that we have a deadline, so that we don't get last-minute applications, and everybody is well aware of a deadline to receive applications. That doesn't prohibit council from going outside of that protocol, if you would, that if you, this council chooses to accept a late application, certainly that is something that you guys are more privy to do. But for the general consensus of being able to close out the agenda and not have last-minute changes and presentations to you guys, it would certainly help. I think we have done that, and I think that we've got some board appointments that are online right now. One of the other things that we did was, one of the other complications that we had with this was that applications were being emailed to an individual in the clerk's office that is on maternity leave. So that email went unanswered. So that caused some of the confusion. We have now established a centralized email, if you would, that the entire office has access to, so that if somebody's not present, we can still get that application into the system. So hopefully we have fixed that problem, and we won't have that issue ever again. One of the things that I've given to council is a red line version of our request to address the mayor and city council. Again, the red line reminds individuals of our rules and procedure about conduct, if you would. Individuals that are wishing to speak to council should not engage with conversations of other members in the public, and certainly lays down the ground rules on the application that are part of our adopted rules and procedures. If council is in agreement with this, we'd certainly like to start using this this form. And again, the red line. And I apologize, Mr. Chambers, for the red line. We'll try to find a color that you can read. So I need you to look at that and see if that's good with you. Last but not, well, a couple other things here real quick. Before you is a memo from me. It kind of outlines some help that we need in council's decision for the 4th of July activities. By last year, if you remember correctly, because of weather conditions, the 4th of July fireworks display got postponed and canceled. We rescheduled that in September and had the event in Labor Day. There seemed to be a lot of interest, and I've gotten a lot of interest from the community to have it on Labor Day as far as the fireworks are concerned. I've taken the liberty of putting 3 different options together here, and certainly one of the options is leave it as it is and traditionally have the parade and the fireworks on the same day. We could have the fireworks display scheduled for the night before, which if they get canceled, that gives us another day to fall back on, being the 4th. Or we can have the 4th of July parade during the day and have the firework activity in September. That seemed to be pretty well received as far as the information that I got from some of the public and some of you as well. So again, I need some fairly quick action on this. We need to sign a contract with the fireworks company on what day we want to do this. I guess what I'd like to do is kind of get some feedback from council on how you guys would like for us to proceed.
Councilman Donahue.
Because I wore the hat for so many years, I immediately go to the role that the Chamber of Commerce plays in our fireworks and our parade and everything else. And so my question is, I think they're already working on the 4th of July for this 19 because they have a contract to do so with you. So are you suggesting this for this 4th of July or 2020?
I would be suggesting this for this 4th of July.
Okay, have you talked to them?
To the fireworks display people?
No, have you talked to the
chamber?
Chamber? I mean, they're already planning a big event on the evening of the 4th of July.
Well, I'm surprised with that because I had a meeting with Miranda 2 weeks ago and told her that I would have Carl get hold of her, which a meeting is scheduled for next week on Tuesday.
Okay. Let me just say, I'm not on that board anymore.
Well, they're supposedly having discussions. If they're having,
then fine. That was my question.
Well, if
I
they're
just wanna
making
make sure
plans
you're talking to them.
without outside of the conversation that I had, I don't know that.
No, I don't know either
Okay.
way. I just wanted to make sure that since they are
Yeah,
one of the
we have
agencies that do this, that
Right.
they're included in this conversation.
Well, I think that they are. I'm hoping that
Okay.
they are. I mean,
All
that
right.
conversation's already been had to schedule a meeting, so I'm assuming that
Okay.
they're moving forward with that. And certainly, again, we're not looking to exclude them. I mean, we'd like to include them, but, you know, the problem with the 4th of July fireworks is that we are, with emergency management and the rec director, having to make a call like within
Oh, yeah.
15, 20 minutes of whether or not to hold this. I know last year, It's a difficult decision. But yet, it's one of those decisions that I had to make as a city manager, not to put 6,000 people out on the golf course when there's a thunderstorm and lightning storm 5 miles away. So I think that in itself, with the other reasons that I outlined in the memo, that reason in itself doesn't necessarily happen automatically in September, but it happens every 4th of July. So it's just, again, it's just open for discussion, and I think that, you know, for the most part, I think that if you survey your staff, like I have, most of them would be real happy to go home on the 4th afternoon and have a barbecue with their family and friends, and they're not able to do that, and they have never been able to do that. So, again, I'm just opening it up for discussion. I don't know that I have any preference one way or the other, but I tried to outline 3 different options for us.
Yeah, well, I do have a lot of experience on that, working every 4th of July for 43 years. But the decision to cancel is a tough one, but it's the same decision you're going to have on the 3rd of July or on Labor Day. So that's always going to happen. The difference between the 3rd of July and the 4th of July, and I believe Mr. Langfeld provided the numbers, it's a lot cheaper. Fireworks are a lot cheaper any other day other than the 4th. So if it's only a money issue, then yes, but it's not always just a money issue. You know, our cities always look forward to the 4th on the 4th. So that being said, again, the decision to cancel is always there, and you'll have that same decision if a storm comes on the 3rd or on Labor Day.
The memo I put before you is not predicated on cost. I did that just to kind of give you an idea.
Right, but it
of
is
cost.
cheaper to.
It is.
It is cheaper to
It's
shoot
not
on another day of the
significant,
4th.
but it is cheaper.
Right,
to,
and it's cheaper on our staff too, because we're not paying overtime on the 4th. We're
Yeah.
paying it on a normal workday.
So,
We're paying regular salary.
I do think that there is a possibility of, you know, you can have a thunderstorm anytime here in Florida. We know that. It certainly is lessened in September than it is in the 4th of July. So,
Councilman Schisler.
Thank you. Are you looking for direction tonight? Are you looking for,
well,
in the near future, you know, at the next meeting?
we really need to move forward with a decision pretty quick so that we can get somebody under contract for fireworks. I don't know that I need a decision right now. If you guys would like to mull over it and kind of have some discussion in your own head,
And with
I can,
people.
I can get with you later on. This is not one of those things that, it's not one of those things that council has to take an action on. If I could just kind of get a general census of what you guys would prefer to do, I think that would be sufficient for us to move forward. So, if you want me to give you a couple of days, I can reach out to each of you individually and see what you think. And if we need to bring it back for council for more decision or for more discussion, we can certainly do that. But whatever the pleasure of the board is certainly the way that we'll go. But we really can't wait. Really can't wait another couple of weeks. I really need to know something pretty soon. So.
If it's agreeable with council members, over the next couple of days, City Manager Stevenson will reach out to us and individually kind of solicit our thoughts on it. And prior to your comment, Mr. Ross, Councilman Donahue was ahead of you in line. I'm sorry.
I hate to do that to you. You go right ahead. Well, I can see, I definitely understand, and I would have no problem with it moving to a 4th of July package, so the evening of the 3rd and the day of the 4th, because it definitely would give the employees a chance to go home and swim with their families and do all the rest of the things that the rest of us do. But I guess I'm a little surprised that, I mean, this is one of those things that if I'd had it maybe Friday, I'd have had time to think about it, and then we really could have given you a decision tonight. So, and maybe your staff was still pulling this together, I don't know, but, I mean, this is the kind of thing that I want to get before I get here. Everything else, I understand, it's something you're telling us, but you definitely need a decision, and I think this calls for a vote. This is a big change. So I'll go along with us all just agreeing and telling you what we think, so I'll just tell you right now that that's the one I would go with, because I have people who come here to be part of the 4th of July, the package, you know, so if it's on the 3rd and the 4th, I think they can all live with it. It was nice last year, it worked out great, because we had to do it that way. We had already purchased the fireworks, we made lemonade, right? So, anyway, I just would like to ask you, please, next time, please, if we're gonna mull something over, I'd like to do it before council meeting.
Thank you. Councilman Ross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is the kind of thing that, I don't know, maybe I look at our form of government the wrong way, or maybe but this is the kind of thing that causes me to be hesitant and worried about annexation. And why wasn't this an agenda item on the meeting tonight for the public to see and the public to comment on and the public to kind of tell us what they think? And maybe, I don't know if it's appropriate for the police union, the fire union, the people to tell us, you know, this is, I don't like us making these kinds of big decisions in a vacuum with us telling you, you know, okay, I'll tell you by Tuesday what I think about it and stuff. We have agenda items sometimes I wonder why, we'll spend 30 minutes talking about whether to rake the leaves on the golf course. And then something like this comes up, and we don't, I'd like to see it in the agenda item. But if you can't wait 2 weeks, then I guess we'll have to do it informally. But I would have liked to seen this noticed, so the public could be here, the chamber could be here, the Rotary Club, all the people, whoever's involved in this could be here and say, this is the impact on me, this would be the impact on me. You know, that's what I'd kind of like to see. But if it's too late to do it that way, and that's my concern about annexation, is we seem to continually get these things where we truly have no choice because we've got to make a decision by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we really don't, we get boxed in because it comes to us at the 11th hour. We have really no choice. I mean, that seems to happen a lot.
Mr. Stevenson, does that conclude your report?
No, ma'am, it doesn't. I guess in response to Mr. Ross, we'll manage with waiting a couple of weeks. We'll put it on the agenda next meeting. I mean, if we were to reschedule any of our other events, I don't know that they would come to council for a change in the date from Winter Wonderland from Friday to Saturday, but
This is a budgeted item, pretty big.
okay, we'll put it on the next agenda, and we'll address it that way. That'd be fine. We'll manage with our contractors, and we'll discuss it at our first March meeting.
I have one more question.
Can we wait till he's done with his report?
I thought you were finished.
I've got just a couple other things here. Ride with the Mayor, just remind everybody, Ride with the Mayor is March 1st, which is a week from Friday. Starts at 7:30. People can get there at 7:30, and there'll be some refreshments as we've done in the past. We're partnering with Cutter and DOT to do this, and it'll be hopefully good weather. One other thing, if I can ask our fire chief to come to the podium and kind of give us, there is an event that's happening this Thursday that we've just recently found out about that has a follow-up with firehouse subs from our last meeting.
City Manager, Council, Mayor. Yeah, we're having a event that Lori has helped tremendously a lot. She's been in reach with the people from Firehouse Subs, and they've kind of helped her along a little bit, although she's done most of the work today. But we're going to cut up a car on Thursday, 3 o'clock, and also the media is going to be there as well. I think tomorrow is, if I'm not mistaken, about 9:30, Bay News 9, and maybe one other media outlet's going to be at the station doing an interview on the grant that the city received, and subsequently we were able to purchase the extrication equipment. So again, Thursday at 3 o'clock, if you're certainly welcome to head out at Firehouse Subs on Fowler and for the demonstration and kind of giving back a little bit to Firehouse Subs in their appreciation for what they did for us.
Good.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And last but not least, I've given you a news article that showed up in the Tampa Bay Times about scooters and the pilot program that they're doing. I know that came up on our agenda back in January, if I remember correctly, and just to kind of give you a notice that looks like they're moving that way, but that was shared with me today. I thought I'd share with you in case you hadn't seen it. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager Stevenson. Councilman Donahue.
Yeah, I just have a question. Of all of these items that you've given us tonight, there's some really good information in here for the citizens. Is this going to be a matter, is this going to be attached to the minutes, or how will, I mean, I love this report about the police. How is this?
We can attach all this to the Friday report, Monday report that we've done. That goes out to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Ross.
Yeah, just would like some clarification. This change in request to address the mayor and council, what exactly is the next step on this? What do you,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's the next thing you're looking for us on this request to address the language changes? You kind of said, get back with me, we'll go.
Well, again,
What are we gonna
it's
do with
it's some language change that just incorporates some of our rules and procedures.
No, I
That's
know
all.
what it is.
I mean,
What are you looking for from
Yeah.
us?
I'd like to have permission to start using the form.
Are we gonna have a vote on this? Are we gonna discuss it? Are we gonna, what are
We
we, how
can
are we gonna
discuss
deal
it
with
right now if you'd like. Or we can put it on the next agenda,
Yes,
whatever you prefer.
I'd like for you to put it on the next
I
agenda.
just want to let you know that we're kind of headed that direction to, again, just to clean up some of our forms and some of our applications, some of our processes that have come out of the last meeting.
No, I just want to understand how this is going to work so that if we don't do anything in 2 weeks, this is just an adopted change that, well, the council knew, and, are we going to discuss it, vote on it? How are we going to deal with this?
I don't know that we need any formal action to change a form that never got adopted in the first place, but, I mean, it's just a form that we use to sign people up. If you prefer not to incorporate that change, just let me know and we will drop the subject.
Well, I can't let you know to drop the subject because I'm only one council member, but I'll tell you, I don't like this form the way it's drafted, so.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay?
Well, in that case, I'll make a motion that we either drop, well, I'd like to drop the form altogether and leave the form as it was before, because the way it was before, the words it used were, made the point, and they served us well for many years, and I don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction to public comment to change the way we've been doing business. So I move that we disregard this suggestion.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. It is not before this body. Does that conclude your report, City Manager Stevenson?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other business to come before the council?
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I almost did it to you again. We have a real quick, fun video to show council. If Brian can cue that up, you'll see it on your monitors and the TV screens. It has to do with our event last weekend at Touch a Truck. It's a great little video for us.
they go back there.
Yeah, they sit back there. You never want to be back there. You want to be up here. Watch your step.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That was, all credit goes to Ms. Hayes and Mr. Brian Hill, who is in our booth back there. His kids strapped on GoPros, and I think his wife did as well, and put that together. It was a fun time. It's great to see the kids have a good time out there. So it's a fun time by all. Thank you.
Very good. If there's no other business to come before this body, we are adjourned.
I heard it should be renamed